Hiya folks, and welcome back to another episode a day. Now, today's episode is slightly special because it's not the usual. I'm working on a resource pack at the moment for advanced rocketry because I want to use advanced rocketry in the casual pack that I'm making, but I find advanced rocketry very, very ugly. And I want to make it playable for me. So here's an example. You may have seen me posting on Twitter. Here's an example of a retextured crystallizer that, in my opinion, looks a lot better. And all the individual parts of that. And that means going through all the blocks and redoing all the sides. And so on. Although there's a lot of reuse here, unfortunately that's taken care of in the JSON files, which are basically like text files that tell the blocks how to behave. So there's a lot of top and bottom being reused and sides being reused, which basically just leaves the faces to be redone, right? And the same applies for this stuff. So if I go Vulpus, I really don't like the way this mod author has like actual objects that they reuse in advanced rocketry in another mod, which is a library mod. It means you have to search two mods when you're looking for pieces. But this is an item input, an item output, a fluid input, a fluid output, and a power input. And I'm not putting the power output plug down because the mod author has decided to use both textures for both power input and output, as you can see. So, what are we doing today? We're not just flying around a creative world looking at the stuff that I'm going to do. I actually have Photoshop here in the background, as well as a folder with my stuff that I've been working on. This is a instance that I've created using the Twitch launcher for the Rocketry Workshop, which consists of just two mods, JEI, well, all the mods that come with Forge, so MCP and all that, plus JEI, Vulpus and Advanced Rocketry. And the reason I do that is so that I can do things like get fluid output. Looks like this. I don't necessarily know that's going to open the right picture, because I have some duplicates in some places, because I was originally working on this in the Rorax folders. So hang on. Sure, let's deface the crystallizer, shall we? Just to prove my point. Let's grab red, and we'll take this down 1 pixel, and then deface it with a big R, and save it. Don't worry, it's not defaced forever. If I do F3T, this will reload the pack. That crystallizer you see there in front of me should have a big R on it. Yep. So, reloaded resource packs. So that I can do that. So I don't have to shut down the game every time that I want to check a texture that I've edited. I just have to reload the resource packs with F3 plus T. Which just reloads all the resources, as you can see down in the bottom left there. Great, and so what I wanted to do today is I just wanted to work on one simple texture with you guys, show you my process, which is going to be the cutting machine texture, and then I'll probably do the rest of this multi-block off camera, and make it all spiffy like the crystallizer over here. Right. So, let's get to work. First of all, we are going to close that because we don't need it. We're going to go here, going to go desktop, going to load machine face. which is just a texture that I'm using to be like the generic face of a object before I've edited it, right? Reusing assets while can be seen lazy is also a very, very good way to keep things consistent. I keep forgetting I need to do this. Save it. Save. Okay. And so now I want to no, that's not it. Let's go here. Up. Textures. Box. Cutting machine. Copy. Paste. Load it into here. We will change its image size overall to 16 because they're 32 by 32, which is weird. Actually, one thing I hate about rocketry is some stuff is 32 by 32 and some stuff is 16 by 16. These two, for example. It's very strange. I'm not sure what the model was thinking. Dev art is one thing, that is another. So, you know. Okay. So fortunately, it actually copied really well. So I am going to pretty much just remove. Does look all good? Yes, it does. Select the color range of that particular one. I'm going to make sure there is no fuzziness, so it only selects that grey. Only that grey is selected, except it's not. Also selected that, which happens to be the same color. And then I can hit delete. Except I can't because I forgot to copy this, because the original layer is always locked, and a locked layer cannot have transparency. Here we go. That is much better. So we turn that on, and bring it underneath. Ta-da! So that's the most basic changes we can make to that, right? I also realized something. We're going to need cutting machine active. Well, these two machines have two different states. Move you into here. Do the same thing. Image size 16 by 16. Now I could be taking a lot more effort in terms of detailing these to try and make them look actually like totally superb sprites, right? But I just want them to look usable. So I'm not putting all the effort in the world into creating them. I just want them to be something that isn't super ugly. And if you're sitting there like, oh my god, is this your version of ugly? Please keep in mind that my education is in a computer arts education. So do not be intimidated by this. This is just practice. And this kind of practice lets me be arrogant and say, yes, this is my version of ugly. Or my version of lazy, I should say, not ugly. I'm going to copy that layer again into this one. So now we've got these two. So these still need editing though. They're not done. For one, ooh, oh, wrong layer. For one, we don't need that shadow in there. Not at all. because this is what we might do though. Let's do something like this. Wrong direction. Which just implies it goes further back. In terms of this, with the crystallizer, I stuck with a grayish edge, but I did make it darker. Kind of regret that. I might go back and make these lighter, because lighter implies, when you've got single pixels like this, a lighter color implies that it's popping forward. Whereas a darker color implies that it's like either a material which is literally darker or that it's popping backward. Which, in terms of the crystallizer, I think that more makes you think it's a darker material, and then the vent is behind that darker material. So we're going to try and mimic this with this cutting machine, so that we are keeping things consistent, because consistency is important. If your art is not consistent in terms of themes and ideas, then what are you doing? That sounds harsh, but I mean, it's a very good lesson to learn early on. If you're ever thinking about doing something like this, because it simply just means that you get into the habit early of not just getting carried away with an idea that you have because you have the idea, but more important, what supersedes that is the idea of keeping things consistent between all of the work that you're doing for one project. Going to noise this up, because noise is, ooh, did a bad. I did a bad. No, I want that. And I want to remove the darkness. Why do I want to remove the darkness? Because darkness does not have texture. Darkness is darkness. And if you're just trying to imply there's some hole that the person can't see into back there, then you want to imply that there's a hole that somebody can't see back to in there. We're going to make this a little bit darker, actually. Oh yes, and when you're painting darkness, never use black. Never ever ever use black. You should never ever use pure white or pure black in anything to do with sprite work or art in general, because pure white and pure black don't exist. If you look into a shadow, you will see, or some of the darkest shadows that you can find, you will see that it's not purely black. This was a science problem, actually, back in like the 1930s, I think, and it had something to do with ovens. It was about proving or disproving, in this case, something called the ultraviolet catastrophe, which was a theorized problem with objects that got closer to being unable to reflect light. So the only way you're going to see anything which is even close to black is by looking at something like Vanta Black, which is a commercially designed black, which is still not 100% black. It just looks like it compared to everything around it, and same with this. It just kind of looks like it compared to everything around it, right? Hope that lesson makes sense. So I would almost call this done, except these lights are not consistent with the shading that I've been doing on everything else. So very simply, we're going to make it consistent. Cool. Alright. So then we need to do the on texture, and quite honestly, I'm just going to grab this, and I'm going to remove the inside of it, and we are going to copy it, and we are going to paste it, and we're going to put it on top of that, and then we are going to make this look more acceptable. Something like that. And then move these pixels into those pixels, except no we won't, because there was no offending pixels there. And I mean, in general, this isn't all that offensive anyway, so this barely needs any work whatsoever. So we will just noise it up, and we might call these done. But first of all, merge layers, save. Both these. Oh, you're not going to allow me. Fine. I'll include everyone in this dance. Merge layers. Add noise. Adding a full 1.0 to these things, because that's what I did for the crystallizer. Right. So, same deal for our red dot up here. Want basically a pink. Put a little orange in there so it isn't so pink. Right. To be honest, because I already have a red light on the remember that whole consistency conversation? Red line on the crystallizer. I should grab that one. Great. Oops. Always wants to save it as a Photoshop file if you don't have it as a single layer, because PNGs can only have a single layer. Right, so I now do F3T, I should see a new cutting face, cutting machine face. Ta-da! Right, let's do time, set, day. It is apparently day. Dash game rule to false. Slash downfall? I don't actually know the rain toggle downfall. Yeah, that's the one. Right, get out of here, rain, and then game rule so it doesn't creep up on us again. No weather cycle. Excuse me. Right. So this is the new cutting machine. Got all its sides. That was already dealt with. I'm not honestly sure why the green light is on the cutting machine when it's off and the red one is on it when it's on. Not sure. But that might mean that I need to copy this green one and put it on the crystallizer. and swap that when the crystallizer gets turned on. But now we can grab some logs. Some logs. Creative interface. Put in the input hatch, and you can do your thing and it changes to the other texture we did. Hooray! That's just gonna make jungle wood. Cool, huh? And that's just a little taste of my process. And now, after I finish this video, I'm going to do the rest of this multi-block so it's not super ugly. I'm going to leave this creative energy block ugly because honestly, if you're using creative energy blocks in your builds for real, you deserve it to be ugly. It also just makes it so much more obvious that it's the creative block when you look things up. But cool, right? And if I block this little block, when I break that, it'll change back to its normal one. If I want to, I can actually add the normal one in here. Right click and it reforms. Cool, huh? Alright, so thank you all for watching. This has been my pixeling process, and this is what I've been doing the last few days. And I will see you all later. Bye-bye.